Okay, 1 John chapter 5. Paul introduced us to 10 verses last week, and we'll do another round in there. He did a great job of trying to have us consider the three witnesses, the Spirit, the water, and the blood. It's an incredible thing that John keeps circling back to the very things that are of essence. Witnesses of whom? Jesus. And what do we need to do? We need to love God with all our heart, and then we need to love others. There's a third component that we want to look at today, and that is, how do we overcome the world? So I'll read some of the verses from 1 John chapter 5. You heard these last week, and I'll just remind us of them again. Everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ has been born of God, and everyone who loves the Father loves whoever has been born of him. By this we know that we love the children of God, when we love God and obey his commandments. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments. And his commandments are not burdensome. For everyone who has been born of God overcomes the world. And this is a victory that has overcome the world, our faith. Who is it that overcomes the world except the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God? And then regarding the three witnesses. This is he who came by water and blood. Not by the water only, but by the water and the blood. And the Spirit is the one who testifies, because the Spirit is truth. For there are three that testify, the Spirit and the water and the blood. And these three agree. If we receive the testimony of men, the testimony of God is greater. For this is a testimony of God that he has borne concerning his Son. Whoever believes in the Son of God has a testimony in himself. Whoever does not believe, God has made him a liar, because he has not believed in the testimony that God has borne concerning his Son. See, the apostle is continuing something he has already mentioned more than once. And then he says to us, to the Christian, the keeping of God's commandments are not burdensome, or as one translation would say, not grievous. The way in which we show that we love God is that we keep his commands. Our very love of him makes us desire to keep them. Yet I think, at least in my life and perhaps yours, the relationship of us to the commandments of God sometimes present a challenge. We would know that there are those who have emphasized the keeping of commandments, keeping them to the letter. And in so pressing hard, sometimes they have become and have placed us under bondage. And Paul would have written letters to the Galatians, to the Romans. The author of Hebrews would also have identified that. There is this possibility that we see the commandments of God, and then we are strongly encouraged to live by them to the T, and what happens is that they become checklists. The second danger, and we see this, John writes about this in 1 John, is what we might call the danger of, and here's a big word, antinomianism. And basically what it says, saying, I am free from the law. Because I am now a Christian, I am no longer under the law, but under grace. And the commandments have nothing to do with me. These people, in a sense, feel that it does not matter what they do. They can live as they wish, and they find themselves in much trouble, even though they would say that grace covers it. So we slip into one side of one ditch or the other. religious, or just free for all. But John keeps redirecting us, keeps appealing to the hearts of the believers, and he wants us to be conquerors or overcomers with respect to the law. In other words, the 10 Commandments are the commandments of God to men and women at all times, in all situations. They have never been reduced, they've never been modified, but they have been fulfilled by Christ. And that's why in this passage we're reminded that Jesus Christ is again the center of it all. He is the way, the truth, and the life. See, interestingly, any commandment of God for a non-believer is and should be difficult. They just can't see it. Like, why would you do that? Why would you do the things that God commands? Those are hard things. My natural instincts do not align with that. So when they say, I can't live like that, no, you can't unless you are born again. You're a new creation. Your heart aligns with God. Your heart's desires align with God. So here's a test for us. And I thought about this for a while is, are the Lord's commandments hard on me? What is my attitude to the commandments of God? Do I feel that the Christian life is a set of tasks, a checklist? Or do I attempt to keep the commandments of God so that I'm kind of safe? You know, excuse me, like playing defense. I have to do it just so that I'm okay. Or am I living this life because I enjoy my relationship with Jesus Christ, and I therefore seek to increasingly live out his commandments? I search his word, I listen to his Holy Spirit, and I just say, yes, Lord, more. What is my heart desire? And I can't answer that for you, but you need to talk to the Lord and say, what is my heart attitude toward that? So John is pushing for us to understand how our love of God or for God leads to our obedience. Is it under the hammer? Is it under a defensive scheme? Or is it literally out of delight? If our heart has a deep resolve for delight, we just delight, just like this seeker starting to enjoy the presence of the king. Not only does he enjoy the presence of the king, more importantly, the king enjoys the presence of the child. So let's look at two things, kind of two sides of